Listening 1.1. Rumiko, what do you eat on a typical day?
I don't usually have breakfast because I can't get up early enough to eat. I normally just buy coffee and drink it in the office. I usually have lunch in a restaurant near the office with people from work. When I was younger, I used to go to fast food restaurants and have pizza or fried chicken and French fries. Now I prefer eating something healthier, so I go to sushi restaurants or restaurants that serve organic food. And for dinner, I eat out a lot too.
Do you ever cook?
Well, I like to cook, but I work very late every day and also my kitchen's too small. My boyfriend's a better cook anyway.
Do you ever eat unhealthy food?
Well, I don't eat a lot of sweet things, but I drink a lot of coffee every day. I think I'm addicted to caffeine.
Are you trying to cut down on anything right now?
No, I eat healthily and I exercise regularly, so I don't think I need to cut down on food.
Are people's diets in your country getting better or worse?
Oh, probably worse. I think the diet in Japan today is much more westernized than before, and that's why some people are getting fatter. But personally, I like the fact that there are more different kinds of food in restaurants now. I enjoy the variety. It makes eating out much more fun.
Listening 1.2.
Bowl. Cook. Cookies. Good. Sugar. Boot. Boo. Food. Fruit. Juice. Moose. Soup. Spoon.
Listening 1.3. 1,
Knife. Fruit. Salmon.
2, sausage, lettuce, sugar. 3,
Yogurt. Menu. Diet.
listening 1.4. 1. The first course on the menu is lettuce soup. 2,
What vegetables would you like with your steak?
3. Do you want yogurt or chocolate mousse for dessert? 4.
I take 2 spoonfuls of sugar in my coffee.
5. Sausage isn't very good for you. 6.
Would you like some fruit juice?
Listening 1.5.
Kevin, why did you decide to open a restaurant in Chile?
I'd always wanted to have my own restaurant. I'd visited Chile as a tourist and loved it, and I thought it would be a good place because Chileans are pretty open to new things, new ideas. So I opened Frederick's,
Why did you call the restaurant Frederick's?
because Frederick's my father's name. It's my middle name too.
What kind of food do you serve?
Mainly international dishes. Pasta, steak and French fries, risotto. But we also serve several English dishes as well.
Were Chilean people surprised when they heard that an English chef was going to open a restaurant here?
Yes, they were. Very. I think people don't usually expect the English to be good cooks.
Is your chef English?
No, he's Chilean. But I've taught him to make some English dishes.
What kind of English dishes
So we serve traditional English breakfasts, eggs, sausage, toast, and so on. And then we have a lot of English desserts at lunchtime. For example, trifle. But that's a popular English dessert made with fruit and cake and cream.
Are the English dishes popular?
Yes, especially the desserts and cakes. I think people here in Chile have a very sweet tooth.
I hear that you've met a lot of famous people in your career as a chef.
Yes, I used to cater for the tennis tournament at Wimbledon, and I've also worked with the royal family. I've met a lot of famous people who are very interesting from every point of view.
You said earlier that your chef was a man. Do you have any women working in your kitchen?
Yes, one, but the rest are all men. In fact, I think that's typical all over the world. There are far more men than women in restaurant kitchens.
Why do you think that is?
I think there are a lot of reasons. The most important reason is probably the unsocial hours. Most women don't want a job where you have to work until late at night. Then there's the atmosphere. Women don't like being shouted at, and there's a lot of shouting in restaurant kitchens. It's also usually extremely hot, and I think women don't like that either.
Do you think you'll stay in Chile?
Oh, yes. I love Chile and its people, and the climate is perfect. The language is the most difficult thing for me, but the Chileans are very understanding.
Listening, 1.6. What was the most exciting game you refereed?
Oh, it's difficult to choose one game as the most exciting. I remember some of the Real Madrid-Barcelona games. For example, the first one I ever refereed. The atmosphere in the stadium was great, but really it's impossible to pick just one. There have been so many.
Who was the best player you ever saw?
During my career, I've met many great players. It's very difficult to say who was the best, but there's one player who stands out for me. Not just for being a great soccer player, but also for being a great human being. And that was the Brazilian international player Mauro Silva, who used to play here in Spain.
What was the worst experience you ever had as a referee?
The worst? Well, that was something that happened very early in my career. I was only 16. I was refereeing a game, and the home team lost. After the game, I was attacked and injured by the players of the home team and by the spectators. After all these years, I can still remember a mother who had a little baby in her arms and was trying to hit me. She was so angry with me that she nearly dropped her baby. That was my worst moment, and it nearly made me stop being a referee.
Do you think that there's more cheating in soccer than in the past?
Yes, I think so.
Why?
I think it's because there's so much money in soccer today that it has become much more important to win. Also, the game is much faster than it used to be, so it's more difficult for referees to detect cheating.
How do soccer players cheat?
Oh, there are many ways, but for me the worst is what we call simulation. Players pretend there has been a foul when there has been no foul at all. For example, sometimes a player falls down and says someone pushed him or hit him when, in fact, nobody has touched him. In my opinion, when a player does this, he's cheating not only the referee and the players of the other team, but also the spectators. The spectators pay money to see a fair contest, not to watch people cheat.
What's the most difficult thing about being a referee?
The most difficult thing is to make the right decisions during a game. It's difficult because you have to make decisions when everything's happening so quickly. Soccer today is very fast. Also, important decisions often depend on the referee's interpretation of rules. Things aren't black and white. And of course, making decisions would be much easier if players didn't cheat.
So in your opinion, fair play doesn't exist anymore?
No, I didn't mean that. I think fair play does exist. The players who cheat are still the exceptions.
Listening, 1.7.
Horse. Or. Shorts. 4. Score. Sport. Warm up. Court.
serves worse than the other girls.
3.
It was a tie. The score was 4-4.
4. It's the worst sport in the world. 5.
We warmed up on the court.
6.
They wore red shirts and white shorts.
Listening, 1.9. 1.
So, what are you going to do next year, dear? Are you going to go to college?
No, Gran, I've already told you 3 times. I'm not going to college. I'm going to look for a job. I want to earn some money.
All right, dear. You don't need to shout. I'm not deaf. What time is it now?
10 after 5. I'll make you a cup of tea.
Oh, yes, dear. That'd be very nice.
2.
See you tomorrow then.
Hold on a minute. Where are you going?
Out. It's Friday night, remember?
What time are you coming back?
I'm not coming back. I'm staying at Mom's tonight.
I think you need a hat. It's going to be cold tonight.
Dad, nobody wears hats anymore. Bye.
3.
Can I use your car tonight?
No,
Why not?
you'll crash it again.
I won't. I'll be really careful. I'll drive slowly, I promise.
Okay, here you are. But be careful.
Thanks. See you later.
Listening, 1.10. 1.
Jealous. Ambitious. Generous.
2.
Sociable. Reliable.
3.
Responsible. Sensible.
4.
Competitive. Talkative. Aggressive. Sensitive.
5.
Unfriendly. Insecure. Impatient.
Listening, 1.11.
It's 8 o'clock and time for breakfast time.
Good morning, everyone. Our guest this morning is the writer Nora Levy. Nora's here this week promoting her new book, We Are Family, which is all about how our position in the family affects our personality. Welcome, Nora.
Thank you.
Now, is this really true, Nora, that our position in the family affects our personality?
Sure. Okay, other factors can influence your personality too, but your position in the family is definitely one of the strongest.
So, tell us a little about the oldest child in the family, the firstborn.
Well, the oldest children get maximum attention from their parents, and the result is that they're usually pretty self-confident people. They make good leaders. Did you know that 52% of the U.S. presidents were firstborn children? Firstborn children are often ambitious, and they're more likely to go to college than their brothers or sisters. They often get the top jobs, too. Oldest children are often responsible people because they often have to take care of their younger brothers or sisters. The downside of this is that sometimes this means that when they're older, they worry a lot about things. They can also be a little bossy or even aggressive, especially when they don't get what they want.
Well, what about the middle child?
Well, middle children are usually independent and competitive.
Oh, competitive.
Yes, because they have to fight with their brothers and sisters for their parents' attention. And they're usually sociable. They like being with people.
probably because they've always had other children to play with. However, on the negative side, middle children are often jealous of their brothers and sisters. And they can be moody.
And the youngest children?
If you're the youngest in a family, you'll probably be very charming, very affectionate, and a pretty relaxed person. This is because parents are usually more relaxed when they have their last child. On the other hand, youngest children are often a little lazy. This is because they always have their older brothers and sisters to help them. And they can be pretty manipulative. They use their charm to get what they want.
Okay, that's all very interesting. Now, I'm an only child. People often have the idea that only children like me are spoiled. Is that true?
Well, it's true in many cases.
Oh, no.
Only children are the only ones. They don't have to share with anyone. So they're often spoiled by their parents and their grandparents. As a result, they can be somewhat selfish. They think of themselves more than of other people.
Okay, well, that sounds like a good description to me. Is there any good news?
Oh, yes, there is. On the positive side, only children are usually very organized and responsible. And they can be very imaginative, too.
Well, thank you, Nora. And good luck with the book. And now it's time for the news headlines. Listening 1.12. Song, We Are Family. Listening 1.13.
My name's Ali Gray, and I'm from Cambridge in England. I met Mark about a year ago. He's from San Francisco. We both work for MTC, a music company. I was working in the London office, and he came there on business. We got on really well, and we really liked each other. Anyway, at the end of his trip, he invited me to go to a conference in San Francisco. We had a great time again. And then something amazing happened. When I was in San Francisco, I was offered a job in our new office in Paris. When I told Mark, he told me that he was going to work in the Paris office too. There's just one little thing. His job is marketing director, but mine is managing director. So I'm going to be his boss. I've been in Paris for 3 weeks now, and I love it. Mark arrived from San Francisco yesterday. He's coming into the office this morning.
Listening 1.14. Hi, I'm Mark Ryder.
Ah, you're the new marketing director.
That's right.
I'm Nicole Delacroix. I'm Ali's personal assistant. Welcome to Paris.
Thank you.
I'll just tell Ali you're here. Ali, Mark Ryder
others here.
You're from San Francisco, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
Hello, Mark.
Allie, it's good to see you again. How are you?
Very well. Did you have a good journey?
Yes, fine. No problems.
Let me introduce you to the team. You've met Nicole, my personal assistant.
Yes, we've said hello.
This is Jacques Lemaitre, our PR director.
How do you do? Mark Ryder, how do you do?
And this is Ben Watts, our designer.
Hi, Mark. Great to meet you, Ben. We've heard a lot about you. Really? All good, I hope.
Okay, shall we go to my office?
Listening. 1.15. Hi, I'm Mark Ryder.
Welcome to Paris.
You're from San Francisco, aren't you?
It's good to see you again.
Did you have a good journey? Let me introduce you to the team. You've met Nicole, my personal assistant. This is Jacques Lemaitre, our PR director.
How do you do? Great to meet you, Ben. We've heard a lot about you. Listening. 1.16.
What a lovely view. The river's beautiful, isn't it?
Paris is so romantic. I can't believe we're here together at last.
Yes, it's weird.
Weird. It's wonderful. I really missed you.
Me too.
Why don't we sit down?
So, did you like the office?
Yes, it's great. How do you get on with everyone?
Okay, but we'll see. I've only been here 3 weeks. What did you think of them?
I thought Jacques was very nice. And Nicole,
What about Nicole?
she was very friendly.
You know we have to keep things a secret.
What things?
You know, us, our relationship. I don't want the people in the office to know we're together.
No, of course not. But it is a good reason.
No, it isn't. It's a hotel.
It's okay, I guess. But it's not like having my own place. I have to find an apartment.
Don't worry, it won't take you long. What are you thinking?
Do you really want to know? I was wondering what kind of a boss you'll be.
Well, you'll find out tomorrow.
Listening. 1.17. Why don't we sit down? I have to find an apartment.
Don't worry, it won't take you long.
I was wondering what kind of a boss you'll be.
Well, you'll find out tomorrow.
Listening. 1.18. 1.
I'm going to have some coffee. What do you want?
I'll have some orange juice.
What about Sally and Tim?
Get them some orange juice, too. They said they were thirsty.
Are you sure? I thought Sally wanted tea.
No, she wanted something cold.
Okay, fine.
2.
Well, let's stop and have something to eat. I don't want anything to eat, but let's stop. I'd like some water, and I need to use the restroom. Aren't you hungry? It's lunchtime. I'm starving. No, I really don't want anything.
You're not on a diet, are you?
No, but I'm not feeling 100%. It must be something I ate last night.
3.
It's a shame Robertson isn't still playing for us. He was much better than the players we have now.
Yeah, he was amazing.
What happened to him, you know?
He retired. I think he opened a restaurant.
No, that was Gallagher. He opened a restaurant in Buffalo.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I remember now. Robertson's working as a coach in Tampa. With the junior team, the 16-year-olds.
Oh, really? Well, I think he'd be a good coach.
4.
Where are you going?
Just for a run. I won't be long.
Well, don't be late for lunch. Remember, my mother's coming.
Oh, right. Anyone else or just your mother?
Your sister's coming. Don't you remember?
Oh, yeah, that's right. I'm glad Anne's coming. I think she'll get along well with your mother. Do you need any help with lunch?
I'm okay for now, but I will later, so don't be too long.
Okay, I'll be about 20 minutes.
5.
We have to get Olivia a present. It's her birthday next week.
Why don't we just give her some money?
Oh, come on, that's so impersonal. It's her 21st birthday, and she's our only granddaughter.
Well, you choose something for her then.
That's so typical. Then I have all the work of going and finding something.
Well, then give her money like I said before. We're not her generation. We don't know what kind of things she likes.
Speak for yourself. I think I'll get her a sweater.
Ah, she never wears sweaters.
Oh, you're so helpful.
Listening. 1.19.
Hartford Sports Center. Good afternoon.
Hello. I'd like to reserve a tennis court for Sunday, please.
Are you a member?
Yes, the name's Reed. R-E-I-D. Mark Reed.
What's your membership number, please?
It's 040155.
Okay, thanks. Here we are. A court for Sunday. Let's see. What time did you want it for?
From 8 to 9 in the evening.
I'm afraid they're all full then. We have one from 5 to 6 or 6 to 7.
6 to 7 then.
Okay, Mr. Reed. That's court number 5 reserved from 6 to 7.
Listening. 2.1. Song. Ka-ching.
We live in a pretty little world that teaches every little boy and girl to learn as much as they can possibly and turn around and spend it foolishly. We've created us a credit card mess. We spend the money that we don't possess. Our religion is to go and blow it all. So it's shopping every Sunday at the mall. All we ever want is more. A lot more than we had before. So take me to the nearest store.
Listening. 2.2.
Is that a new camera?
Yes, I bought it yesterday.
What's wrong with our old camera?
It's old.
Old? How long have we had it? A year?
We've had it for at least 3 years, maybe longer.
3 years? I'm sure we bought it last year. Look, we can't afford a new camera.
Why not?
Have you seen this?
No. What is it?
The gas bill. It arrived this morning. And we haven't paid the phone bill yet. Take it back to the store and get your money back.
I can't.
Why not?
Because I've already used it.
Listening. 2.3.
15. 50. 100. 100. 750. 1,500. 7,500. 75,000. 750,000. A million. 1 million. 7.5 million.
Listening, 2.4. 250. €8.99. £3.20. 50%. 0.5. 3.9. 7.35. A half. 1/2. A third. 1/3. A quarter. 1/4. 3/4. 3/4. 6.5. Listening, 2.5. Good evening. I'm Rafael Perez with the 6 o'clock news. At least 17 people have been injured in an accident on the freeway near San Francisco. The police said that the truck that caused the accident was traveling at about 85 miles an hour, well over the 65-mile-an-hour speed limit. Meanwhile, hundreds of transit workers have walked off the job in protest against the transit authority's pay offer. The unions have asked for a raise of 8.5% over 2 years. There will be a meeting between their leaders and city officials later today. Just released, the latest unemployment figures show that the total number of unemployed people, 6.9 million, is essentially unchanged this month. Over the year, unemployment has gone up slightly from 4.6 to 4.8%, which means 138,000 more unemployed for the year. The Secretary of Labor says some of this increase has been caused by the shutdown of auto plants in the Midwest. In real estate, agents are predicting that housing prices will continue to go up this year, making it extremely difficult for first-time buyers to get into the housing market. It's estimated that house prices have increased by 1/3 over the last 5 years. The average price of a single-family home in the U.S. is now about $226,000. And now the weekend weather. Listening, 2.6. So, how long have you been living here?
For about 6 months now.
Why did you choose Ecuador?
Because I have always been interested in the culture and language of Latin America.
Why did you want to take a year off?
Basically, I wanted a break from teaching. I love teaching children, but I needed a change. Also, I've been drawing and painting since I was a child, and I took art classes in college. I've always wanted an opportunity to study the art of the Andean countries, such as Peru and Ecuador.
What have you been doing here since you arrived?
Well, I've been taking some art classes at the university and getting to know some of the local artists. Luckily, many of them speak a little English, as I don't know much Spanish yet. But I am learning the language as quickly as I can.
Is Spanish a difficult language to learn?
Not really. A lot of words are similar in English and Spanish. Listening is probably the most difficult thing for me. I often have to ask people to repeat things more slowly.
Are the other students in your classes helpful when you don't understand something?
Yes, very. I think they're happy to find that a foreigner loves the Ecuadorian culture and wants to learn about it.
You also teach English?
I've been teaching for about 3 months now. It's a great way to meet people and, of course, earn a little money to pay for my classes.
What's the best thing about living in Ecuador so far?
The people. The hospitality of the people here is absolutely amazing.
Listening, 2.7. 1.
So, how long have you been living here?
2.
Also, I've been drawing and painting since I was a child, and I took art classes in college.
3.
What have you been doing since you arrived?
4.
Well, I've been taking some art classes at the university and getting to know some of the local artists.
5.
I've been teaching for about 3 months now.
Listening, 2.8. 1.
I've been studying English for 6 years.
2. Have they been living in Korea for a long time? 3.
How long has your brother been working for that company?
4.
How long have you been teaching Spanish?
5.
My husband hasn't been sleeping very well recently.
Listening, 2.9. 1.
I've been living here for 2 years.
2.
How long have you been learning English?
3.
She's been working in Italy since October.
4. How long have you been waiting? 5.
It's been raining all night.
6.
We've been looking for an apartment for ages.
Listening, 2.10. 1.
Are you hungry?
Yes, I'm starving.
2.
Was your mother angry?
Yes, she was furious.
3.
Is her apartment small?
Yes, it's tiny.
4.
Are you tired?
Yes, I'm exhausted.
5.
Is the floor dirty?
Yes, it's filthy.
6.
Are you afraid of spiders?
Yes, I'm terrified of them.
Listening, 2.11. 1.
Well, if you like your ex-girlfriend so much, why did you come on vacation with me?
That's it. I'm off.
Hello?
Hi, Sharon. It's me, Kylie.
Oh, hi, Kylie.
Hey, you sound awful. What's been happening?
Oh, nothing. Well, okay. Kenny and I have been arguing.
What about? What's he been doing this time?
He's been sending text messages to his ex-girlfriend again.
No!
I knew this vacation was a mistake. I shouldn't have come.
2.
You are so red. How long have you been sunbathing? All morning?
I haven't been sunbathing. I've been reading.
Yes, but in the sun. Didn't you put any sunscreen on?
No.
You'd better go and put some lotion on now. You're going to feel terrible tonight.
3.
You two look exhausted. What have you been doing?
We've been sightseeing in the town. We've been walking all afternoon.
Yes, my feet are killing me. Well, come and sit down and have a nice cup of coffee.
Listening, 2.12. I left at 6. It was still dark when I put my suitcase in the car and drove off. It was fast and easy to go through London because it was Saturday, so there was no rush hour traffic. Soon I was on the highway heading toward Folkestone on the south coast. I stopped at a gas station for a cup of coffee and a sandwich. I didn't buy any gas because it's much cheaper in France. I arrived in Folkestone at 8:10. The problem with traveling by car from England to France is that Britain is an island. There are 35 kilometers of water between England and France. You can get across it by ferry, but there's a much better and quicker way, the Channel Tunnel. The Channel Tunnel is only a train tunnel, not a road tunnel, and so you have to put your car on a train. The trip takes an hour and a half, and drivers have to sit in their cars because there are no seats on the train for passengers. I arrived at the terminal and joined the line of cars waiting for the next train. At 10:30, the train arrived in Calais, and I drove my car off the train and onto the road, a French road. It was nice to drive on the right again, although that was not so easy with an English car. The traffic in Calais was really bad. Finally, I got out of Calais and onto the highway to the south of France. The speed limit on French highways is 130 kilometers an hour, and the road was clear, so now I could travel quickly. But first, I stopped at a gas station to fill up. Gas is cheaper in France than in Britain, but on the other hand, you have to pay to travel on French highways. In Britain, they're free. It's 960 kilometers from Calais to Avignon, and the trip on the highway was boring. I listened to my favorite music to pass the time, and I stopped again for lunch. At 8 o'clock, I finally arrived in Avignon. I found my hotel, and I was looking forward to a delicious French meal. Listening, 2.13. At 8 o'clock, I finally arrived in Avignon. I found my hotel, and I was looking forward to a delicious French meal. It took me 14 hours to get there, and cost a total of £200. I gave the trip 10 out of 10 for convenience, but only 6 for comfort. I was exhausted. Listening, 2.14.
Traffic light. Boarding pass. Parking lot. Car crash. Bike lane. Parking ticket. Traffic jam. Pedestrian area. Gas station. Rush hour. Seatbelt. Traffic radar. Speed limit. Ticket office.
Listening, 2.15.
And this evening on Behind the Wheel, we talk to Brian Russo, who's an expert on road safety. Brian, you did some tests to find out how dangerous it is to do other things when we're driving. According to your tests, what's the most dangerous thing to do?
Well, the first thing I have to say is that doing anything else when you're driving is dangerous and can cause an accident. Because when you're driving, you should concentrate 100% on controlling the car.
I agree.
And anything else you do is a distraction. The tests we did in a simulator showed that the most difficult and most dangerous thing is to try and open a bag of chips or a can of soda.
Oh,
The reason is that most people actually need 2 hands to open a bag of chips or a can of soda. So they take both hands off the wheel for a second or two. And of course, that's the most dangerous thing you can possibly do. In fact, one of the drivers in the simulator actually crashed when he did this.
oh, well. And which is the next most dangerous?
The next most dangerous thing is to select a specific CD from the passenger seat. This is extremely dangerous too, because to do this, you have to take your eyes off the road for 1 or 2 seconds.
And number 3?
Number 3 was making a phone call on a cell phone. What we found in the tests was that drivers drove more slowly when they did this, but that their control of the car got worse.
Yes, I can believe that. And number 4?
Number 4 was listening to your favorite music.
Oh.
In the tests, most drivers drove more quickly and less safely when they were listening to music they already knew. If the music was fast and heavy, some drivers even drove more aggressively.
So, no heavy metal when you're driving.
Absolutely not.
And in 5th place?
In 5th place was talking to other passengers. The problem when we talk to other people in the car is that we pay too much attention to what we're saying or what we're hearing, and not enough attention to what's happening on the road.
So the least dangerous is listening to music you don't know?
That's right. The least dangerous of all these activities is listening to unfamiliar music on the radio or on a CD player. It seems that if we don't know the music, then we're less distracted by it. In this part of the tests, all drivers drove safely and well. Listening 2.16.
Mark, would you mind sending me those concert dates?
Of course not. Ben, are you busy?
Me? Never.
Could you help me? I can't open this document.
Sure.
Thanks.
Hi, Nicole. Could you sign these, please? Sure. Is it okay if I take tomorrow afternoon off? I'm sorry, but tomorrow's really difficult. What about Friday afternoon? Friday? That's fine. Do you think you could send me the request by email? Yes, of course. Hello? Hi, Mark. Could you hold a moment, Mark? Thank you, Nicole. Can you come and see me when you have a moment?
Listening 2.17.
Would you mind sending me those concert dates?
Of course not. Could you help me?
Sure.
Is it okay if I take tomorrow afternoon off? I'm sorry, but tomorrow's really difficult. Do you think you could send me the request by email? Yes, of course. Can you come and see me when you have a moment?
Listening 2.18.
Have you started looking for an apartment?
No, I haven't had time yet.
Anyway, it's best to get to know Paris first.
Yeah, it's a big city.
Merci.
Merci.
Merci beaucoup.
Very good, Marc.
Thanks. That's nearly all the French I know.
Hi, Beatrice. Yeah, just a minute. Sorry.
How do you like the office?
Oh, it's great.
And the people?
Really friendly. I like Ben a lot. He's amazing with computers. And Jacques a really nice guy.
Oh, Jacques, he's very charming. Everybody likes him. And he has a lovely wife. She used to be a pop star when she was young. Have you heard of Isabelle?
No, I'm sorry, I haven't.
She's very pretty. Ali is very attractive too,
Ellie? Yeah, I guess.
although her clothes are very English. And she's very formal. You know, today I asked if I could have a day off, and she wanted me to send her an email.
Well, the English have their funny ways.
Oh, yeah. Oh, hello, Ellie. Hi.
Allie, hi. Let me get you a drink.
Thanks. I'll have a Diet Coke.
Listening. 2.19.
Have you started looking for an apartment?
I haven't had time yet. Just a minute.
How do you like the office? Have you heard of Isabel?
Let me get you a drink.
Thanks. I'll have a Diet Coke.
Listening. 2.20. 1. What's the matter?
I can't find my credit card. I must have dropped it somewhere.
Well, think. When did you use it last?
I bought some gas on the way to work. Did I pay for lunch with the card? No, I paid cash. Oh, and this morning I went to the flower shop. I got some flowers for Sally's birthday.
Well, call the flower shop then. Someone might have picked it up. 2. How long have you been teaching?
Well, I've been working here since last October, so that's a year and a half. And I taught for 2 years before that.
Oh, where was that?
A school in Peru.
Huh, that must have been interesting.
Yes, it's a fascinating place.
3.
Last night's heavy snow has made most main roads impassable. Right now, the trains are still running normally, but the airports are closed. So it's definitely not a good day to be traveling. Business news now. Wall Street closed 3 points down after yesterday's gain.
4.
How are you getting to Buffalo? We were going to drive up Route 17. Then we heard that there was a lot of road work on that highway. So we decided to take Route 80 instead. I thought the thruway was faster. It is, but there are too many trucks.
5. Why does your brother rent his apartment? Why doesn't he buy one?
He can't afford it.
Yeah, but paying rent's just a waste of money. If you can afford to pay rent, you can afford to pay a mortgage.
Yeah, but he only has a temporary contract, and his wife's unemployed at the moment.
Listening. 2.21. Good morning, Miss Stevens. Please, have a seat.
Thank you.
Now, I understand you want a small loan.
Yes, that's right. I want to buy a new car.
How much do you need?
I think I'm going to need about $7,500.
Okay, and over what period of time do you want this loan?
3 years.
Well, let's see. Over 3 years, the monthly payments would be $261.45.
What's your interest rate at the moment?
It's 8.5%.
And could that change?
No, that would be fixed for the period of the loan.
Okay.
And when would you like the money?
As soon as possible.
By the end of next week.
That'd be fine. And when will I start the payments?
Your first one will be on March 22nd.
Fine.
Good. Well, I'll draw up the loan agreement, and you'll receive that in the mail in a couple of days. Listening. 3.1. 1. Goodbye. 3. 4. Please leave a message after the tone.
Oh, hi, Jack. It's Sandra. I was just calling to find out if you want...
5.
6.
Oh, hi. It's Jim. I called half an hour ago, but Anne wasn't in. Is she there now?
7. Listening. 3.2. 1.
I'm a salesperson, and I work in a clothing store. What really makes me angry is when I'm waiting on somebody, and suddenly their cell phone rings, and they answer the phone and start having a conversation. It's really annoying. I think that if you're in a store and talking to a salesperson, then you shouldn't answer the phone.
2. What most annoys me is people who use their phones on a plane. I mean, everybody knows that you have to turn off your cell phone on a plane and that you must not use it until you get off the plane. But some people turn on their phones the moment the plane lands and they start making calls. Why can't they wait another 15 minutes? 3. I hate it when people talk very loudly on their cell phones in a public place. The other day, I was in the waiting room at the doctor's, and there was a man there whose cell phone rang about every 2 minutes. And we all had to listen to him talking loudly to his wife, then to his boss, then to a garage mechanic. I think that if you're in a public place and someone calls you, you should talk really quietly or go somewhere else. And you don't have to shout. The other person can hear you perfectly well. 4.
What really annoys me are people who use their phones a lot when they're with other people. Like when you're out for dinner with someone and they spend the whole time talking on their cell phones or texting other people to arrange what they're doing the next day. I think it's really rude.
5.
I hate people who use their cell phones in the car, even if they're hands-free. Whenever you see someone driving badly, 9 times out of 10, they're on the phone.
Listening. 3.3. 1.
You must not use your phone on a plane.
2.
I don't have to go to work tomorrow.
3.
We have to take an exam in June.
4.
You should turn off your cell phone in class.
5.
You shouldn't talk loudly on a cell phone.
6.
I must go to the bank this morning.
Listening. 3.4. Claire.
In a store in the U.S., when you go to the checkout counter to pay, the salesperson always thanks you and says, "Have a nice day." For Americans, this is standard polite behavior. However, some visitors to the U.S. find this expression, "have a nice day," very annoying. They say it's a sign that Americans are not sincere. You know, the salesperson doesn't really care if you have a nice day or not. I understand what they mean, but personally I really like it. I prefer the people who serve me in stores and restaurants to be polite and friendly, even if they're not 100% sincere. And the Americans are very good at that.
Paul.
Well, some Chinese refer to Americans as the thank you people because of our constant use of the phrase. You don't usually hear the Chinese say please or thank you. It's just not part of their culture. In fact, the standard Chinese answer to thank you means something like, you don't have to be that polite. So I would say, yes, we are polite, and we do use please and thank you a lot. A Chinese friend suggested that this might be because Americans generally don't know any other words in Chinese, but I don't think this is really fair. I think it's more a cultural thing.
Andrea.
I saw a survey the other day that said that Americans themselves feel they are not as polite as they used to be. 69% said that Americans are ruder now than they were 20 or 30 years ago. Many people blame this on the faster pace of life in the U.S. today. About 70% said that parents were to blame for not teaching their children good manners. They also said that kids saw too many examples of rude behavior on TV. I agree. I think we used to be polite, but we aren't anymore, especially young people.
Marcos. In my job, I've met a lot of Americans, and I think they're polite in the way they talk, and also in the way they respect other people's opinions. And their manners in general are good. Okay, this isn't true of all Americans. Some of the tourists that come here can be pretty loud and pushy, especially if they don't get the service they want. And they don't always know or respect some of our customs. I mean, you see Americans dressed in shorts, t-shirts, and sandals trying to go into a really nice restaurant. Then they don't understand why they can't do that, even when they see that all the local people are very nicely dressed. But in general, I think the majority are okay.
Listening, 3.5.
Okay now, can you describe the man you saw in the bank?
Well, he was sort of medium height, not short, but not tall either, and quite skinny, thin.
Yes, and he had a beard and a little mustache.
No, he didn't. He had a mustache, but not a beard. It's just I think he hadn't shaved.
No, it was a beard, I'm sure.
And anyway, Doris, you weren't wearing your glasses, so you probably didn't see him very well.
Yes, I did. I saw him very well.
Okay, so no mustache then.
No, he had a mustache, but he didn't have a beard.
And what about his hair?
Dark. Yes, short, dark hair.
Straight?
No, I think it was curly. What about you, Doris?
Yes, very curly.
So, dark, curly hair?
Yes, that's what we said.
And what time was it?
Listening, 3.6.
Train. A. In his 80s. Neighbor. Overweight. Straight. Way. Bike. Eye. Bright. Height. High. Light brown. Might. Sight.
Listening, 3.7.
1. She has light brown hair. It's short and straight.
2.
He's medium height and slightly overweight.
3. He's in his 80s, but his eyesight's very good.
4.
She likes wearing tight, straight-leg jeans.
Listening, 3.8.
Raphael Lloyd, a Spanish first name and an English last name? Yes, my mother was Spanish and my father English. Is Raphael your real name then, or your stage name? It's my real name. My mother was from Córdoba in Spain, and Raphael is the patron saint of Córdoba. But it's also my stage name. What nationality are you? I'm Spanish and British. I was born in Spain, and I was brought up there. I spent a lot of time in Britain, too. I've been living in England for the last 10 years. Oh, good. Are you bilingual? Yes, I am. And it's a strange question. Do you feel more Spanish than British, or vice versa? Well, I think I feel more Spanish in most respects, especially as a big part of my life revolves around Spanish culture. But I do like individuality, eccentricity, and tea. I must feel a little British too, I suppose.
Do you think you look more Spanish than English?
Well, I think I look Spanish, but when I travel, people always think I'm from their country, and people have stopped me in the street, for example, in Cairo and in Rome, to ask me for help, so I must have an international face. Maybe I should be a spy.
When did you start learning to play the guitar?
I started when I was 9, when my family lived in Madrid. A teacher used to come to our apartment and give me lessons.
I see. So, how long have you been working professionally as a flamenco guitarist?
I started when I was 17. I mean, that's when I started to get paid for my first concert. I'm now 39, and that's 22 years.
Listening, 3.9.
As a flamenco guitarist living in Britain, is it easy to make a living?
I think life as a musician is never easy, but I think it's easier in Britain than in Spain because there are fewer flamenco guitarists there.
And where's flamenco popular, apart from in Spain?
Well, the biggest markets for flamenco outside Spain are really the US, Germany, and Japan. But I've found that it's popular all over the world. It has a strong identity that people relate to in every corner of the planet.
Now, you don't look like the stereotype of a flamenco guitarist. People imagine flamenco guitarists as having long, dark hair.
That's true. I used to have really long hair, but I decided to cut my hair short.
Are people in Britain surprised when they find out that you're a flamenco guitarist?
No, not really. That's one of the things I like about Britain. No one judges you on appearance.
And what about in Spain?
Well, actually, in Spain, people find it much harder to believe that I'm a flamenco guitarist. I think Spanish people believe in stereotypes more than in Britain, and they judge you more on your appearance. But as soon as people hear me play the guitar, they know that I'm the real thing.
Could you play something for us?
Of course.
American English File 3 by Clive Oxenden and Christina Latham Koenig. Published and copyright Oxford University Press 2008. CD 1. Listening 3.10. 1.
He could read when he was 4.
2.
I can't play the guitar.
3.
Where could we have dinner?
4. I can see what you mean. 5.
We couldn't find the street.
6.
What can you do there?
Listening 3.11. 1.
I'd love to be able to ski.
2.
We won't be able to come.
3.
I've never been able to dance.
4.
She hates not being able to drive.
Listening 3.12. 1.
I'd love to be able to ski.
Ride a horse.
I'd love to be able to ride a horse.
Windsurf.
I'd love to be able to windsurf.
2.
We won't be able to come.
Park.
We won't be able to park.
Do it.
We won't be able to do it.
3.
I've never been able to dance.
Speak French.
I've never been able to speak French.
Play chess.
I've never been able to play chess.
4.
She hates not being able to drive.
Cook.
She hates not being able to cook.
Swim.
She hates not being able to swim.
Listening. 3.13.
Hello and welcome to this week's edition of All About You. Today's program is about taking up new activities and how to succeed at them. With us is psychologist Dr. Maggie Pryor. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Dr. Pryor, what tips can you give our listeners who are thinking of learning to do something new?
Well, first of all, I would say choose wisely. On the one hand, don't choose something completely unrealistic. For example, don't decide to take up sailing if you can't swim. Yeah, or parachute jumping if you're afraid of heights. But on the other hand, don't generalize and think that just because you aren't very good at one sport, you won't be able to do any sports at all. I mean, just because you were bad at gymnastics at school doesn't mean that you might not love playing tennis.
So think positive.
Definitely. And never think you'll be bad at something before you've even tried it.
Okay, so let's imagine I've started to learn to play tennis, and I'm finding it very hard work.
Well, first, don't give up too quickly. Keep on trying for at least a few months. It often takes time to begin to enjoy learning something new. Another thing that can help if you're having problems learning something is to give it a break and then try again, perhaps a month or two later.
But what if I find I really don't have a talent for tennis?
I think the important thing is not to be too ambitious. I mean, if you've never been active in sports and you decide to learn to play tennis, don't expect to become the next Wimbledon champion. Just aim to enjoy what you're doing, not to be the best in the world at it.
But what if, even after all this, I still feel I'm not getting anywhere?
Well, sometimes you do have to accept it and say, okay, this really isn't my thing, and you need to give it up. But why not try something else? There are lots of other things you can learn to do. But remember that if you take up an activity that you're really interested in, even if you aren't very good at it, you'll make new friends because you'll be meeting other people who have similar interests.
So it might be good for my love life.
Exactly.
Dr. Maggie Pryor, thank you very much.
Listening. 3.14. Song. You can get it if you really want. You can get it if you really want. You can get it if you really want. Listening. 3.15.
Where exactly is it? I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. Okay. How far is it? Okay. Okay, merci. Au revoir.
Any luck?
I think I found an apartment. How do I get to Belleville?
The easiest way is to get the metro at Pyramid.
Take line 14 and change at Châtelet.
Okay.
Then take line 11 towards Mairie des Lilas.
Where do I get off?
At Belleville.
How many stops is it?
6, I think.
Oh, right. I found it on the map. How long does it take to get there?
About half an hour.
Have you found a flat?
Yeah, in Belleville this time.
When are you going to see it?
This afternoon.
If you can wait till 6, I'll give you a lift. I live near Belleville, so I'm driving that way.
That's great. Thanks. Listening. 3.16. Where exactly is it? How far is it? How do I get to Belleville?
The easiest way is to get to Metro at Pyramide. Take line 14 and change at Châtelet. Then take line 11 towards Mairie des Lilas.
Where do I get off? How many stops is it? How long does it take to get there?
If you can wait till 6, I'll give you a lift.
Listening. 3.17.
This is the apartment. Je vous laisse visiter. Je serai en bas.
Merci, madame. Sorry, Nicole. What did she say?
She said that we can have a look at the flat. She's going to wait downstairs.
Thanks. So, what do you think?
Well, it's a long way from the station. And it's on the 4th floor. It's a pity there isn't a lift.
Who needs one? The stairs are good exercise. Look, there's a great view from here.
It's also very noisy.
Sure, but it has character. It's just how I imagined an apartment in Paris.
Everything's old, including the heating. It will be very cold in the winter.
Oh, hi.
Well, what's it like?
Nice. Really Parisian.
Are you going to take it?
I think so, yeah.
I can't wait to see it.
Yeah.
Are you okay? Are you on your own?
No, I'm with the woman who owns the apartment. I'll call you back.
Okay. Speak later. Love you.
Love you too. Bye. Sorry about that. That was my daughter.
Calling from America?
You know, she's just taking an interest.
Taking an interest. That's nice.
Listening. 3.18. So, what do you think?
It's a long way from the station. What's it like? I can't wait to see it. Are you on your own?
I'll call you back. Listening. 3.19. 1.
Oh no! I can't find my cell phone.
Well, you had it when we were in the cafe. You were texting your friend.
Yes, that's right. Maybe I left it in there.
Do you want to go back and see?
But can you call me first? Then if my cell's in the cafe, maybe someone will answer it.
Okay. Hey, I can hear it. It must be in your bag somewhere.
No, it's in my jacket pocket.
2. I'm starving. What time did you ask them to come?
I said to come at 8 o'clock for drinks, and then dinner at 8:30.
Well, it's 8:15 now.
Yes, they should be here any minute. They're usually very punctual.
Ah, that must be them.
somebody collecting money for charity. Honestly, I think people should call when they're going to be late. It's very inconsiderate. It's almost 20 after now.
3.
No. Is that you? It doesn't look anything like you. I didn't know you used to have long hair.
Well, this passport is nearly 10 years old, which reminds me I'm going to have to renew it.
Well, you definitely need a new photo. This one looks really awful.
Okay, let's see yours then.
No, you can't see it. I hate showing people my passport photo.
Come on, you've seen mine. Well, that's not bad. It's a lot better than mine. In fact, I think I prefer your hair as it was then.
4.
So, where did you meet him? At work. He's one of the designers. And what's he like? Oh, he's funny, intelligent. Yes, but what does he look like? Just like Orlando Bloom. Tall, dark, and handsome. No, I'm joking. He has short, dark hair, and he's not very tall. But I think he's really good looking.
5.
What happened? How'd it go?
No comment.
Not again. What did you do this time?
Nothing. I mean, nothing wrong. It was really unfair. Just because I was going a little bit too fast down Main Street.
Oh, well, you'll just have to take it again. 3rd time's the charm.
Listening, 3.20.
Hello, sit down. I'm the secretary, and you are...
Daniel
And your last name is?
Gatti. G-A-T-T-I.
Are you from Italy?
No, my grandparents were Italian, but I'm Argentinian. But people always think I must be Italian because of my name.
Oh, sorry. And what course were you thinking of taking?
I'd like to take the advanced course. I took an upper intermediate course in Buenos Aires last year, so I think I'll be able to handle an advanced course here.
Well, you'll have to take a level test first. You might find the advanced course pretty difficult. Is this your first time in the U.S.?
Yes, but I've been to Canada last year.
I went to Canada last year, you mean. You see, maybe you're not ready for the advanced after all. Now, the level test takes one...
Listening, 4.1.
Lunch. Fun. Result. Study. Subject. You. Computer. Usually. Uniform. University.
Listening, 4.2. 1.
What subjects did you study in high school?
2.
Do students at that school wear uniforms?
3.
Most students have lunch in the cafeteria.
4.
We usually have fun in our music class.
Listening, 4.3.
So you just took the Scholastic Aptitude Test, the SAT. What parts did you take?
Well, I took the main parts of the test. Those include critical reading, math, and writing.
Was it difficult?
Well, yeah, some parts were. And I need to get a pretty high score.
Why?
Because I want to be a doctor, and I want to get into a pre-med program at one of the big universities, like maybe the University of California. They probably won't admit me unless I get 650 or higher.
Do you think you'll get it?
I don't know. I think I did okay, but I'm a little worried about the math.
When will you get the results?
They'll go online next week. Believe me, as soon as they're online, I'll look up my scores.
And how will you celebrate if you get high scores?
I don't want to plan any celebrations until I get the results.
And what will you do if you don't get the scores you need?
I don't want to think about it. If I don't get into college, my parents will kill me. No, I'm joking. I suppose I could apply to some schools that don't require such high scores.
Well, good luck.
Thanks.
Listening, 4.4.
What test did you take?
The TOEFL? That's the test of English as a foreign language?
Was it difficult?
Well, not really. But I need at least 550 to get into a college. One of the schools I've applied to requires 640. But I'm optimistic. I think I did pretty well.
When will you get the results?
When they score the tests, they'll mail the results. It takes about 6 or 7 weeks.
And how will you celebrate if you get a high score?
I'll go out for pizza with the other people in my class. Well, with the people who did well in the test.
Will you keep on studying English?
Probably not. At least formally. I mean, if I'm taking college classes, I'll be learning a lot every day anyway.
And if you don't get a high enough score?
I'll take the test again in June. Listening, 4.5. 1.
They probably won't admit me unless I get 650 or higher.
2.
As soon as they're online, I'll look up my scores.
3.
I don't want to plan any celebrations until I get the results.
4.
If I don't get into college, my parents will kill me.
5. When they score the tests, they'll mail the results. Listening, 4.6.
Carla, I can see from your face that the results weren't exactly what you wanted. Am I right?
Yeah, I got a 700 on critical reading, but only 620 on math.
So what are you going to do now?
Well, my reading score was pretty good, so I'm going to wait and see if one of the universities I want will still accept me. If not, I'll try to find other schools that will take me.
Were your parents angry?
No, they've been really nice about it. They know how disappointed I am. Besides, it's not that my scores were really bad.
Well, Ruben, did you get a good score on the TOEFL?
Yes, I got a 650. I'm very happy. I didn't think I'd get such a high score.
And your friends?
They all did well too, except one. But he didn't expect to do very well. He didn't do any work.
So are you going out to celebrate?
Oh yes. We're going out for pizza tonight, and then we're going dancing. Listening, 4.7.
Hello, and welcome to our review of international TV programs. With me today is the television critic, Michael Stein. So, Michael, what interesting foreign TV shows have you seen recently?
I saw a British series called That'll Teach 'Em. I must say, I found the whole series absolutely fascinating. They took a group of 30 16-year-old students and sent them, as an experiment, to a boarding school for 1 month. But it wasn't a modern boarding school. It was a 1950s boarding school.
Oh.
They recreated exactly the same conditions as in the 1950s. The same food, the same discipline, the same exams. The idea was to compare education today with education in the 1950s.
Well, I bet it was a shock for today's teenagers.
Well, it was, of course. It wasn't just the classes, it was the whole atmosphere. I mean, they had to wear the uniform from the 50s, horrible, uncomfortable clothes. They hated them. And they weren't allowed to leave the school once for the whole month, or watch TV, or use cell phones.
Wow.
And they had to take cold showers every morning and go for cross-country runs.
What? Well, what was the worst thing for them?
The food, definitely. Most of them hated it. They said it was cold and tasteless. And the girls didn't like the cold showers much either.
Well, what about the classes?
Well, of course, the biggest difference for the kids was the discipline. It was silence all the time during classes. Only the teacher spoke.
Wow.
And anyone who misbehaved had to go to the principal and was either hit on the hand or made to stay after school and do extra work. And of course, they couldn't use computers or calculators. But strangely enough, the kids didn't really mind that. And in fact, most of them found the classes interesting. Some of them said they were more interesting than their normal classes.
Really?
They had to work very hard, though.
So, what happened in the end? Did they pass the 1950s exams?
No, most of them failed. Really? Although they were all really bright kids. There was only one student who actually passed all the subjects.
So, do you think that school subjects really used to be harder in the 1950s?
No, I think that the kids failed because the exams in the 1950s were very different. The students in the program will probably do very well in their own exams. On the other hand, 1950s students would probably find today's subjects very difficult.
Well, how did the kids themselves feel about the experiment?
They were really positive. In general, they had a good time, and they all felt they learned a lot. I think it made them appreciate their own lifestyle more. Some of them actually said it was the best month of their lives. It was an interesting experiment, and the program was really well made. I really enjoyed watching it. Listening, 4.8. 1.
I wouldn't wear that hat if I were you.
2.
If you exercised more, you'd feel much better.
3.
If it weren't so expensive, I'd buy it.
4. I'd get married tomorrow if I could find the right person.
5.
She'd play better if she practiced more.
6. If you talk to her, I'm sure she'd understand you. Listening, 4.9. 1.
When I retire, if I can afford it, I'd love to have a cottage down at the lake where we could go for the summer. I'd like to have a garden there. I've never been able to have one as we live in an apartment in the city. Not too big, though. I'd like to grow vegetables and flowers and some fruit trees. I'd spend all my time either in the garden or sitting by the lake.
2. My dream house would be in the mountains, high up on the hillside with a beautiful view. It'd be modern and quite simple, with wooden floors and big windows. And from every window, you'd be able to see the mountains and the forest. It'd be quite isolated, with no neighbors for miles and miles. Can you imagine? Just the sound of the wind in the trees.
3.
I'd love to have a big old townhouse. Maybe one of those beautiful houses with big rooms, high ceilings, and a lovely staircase going down to the hall. But the bathrooms and kitchen would have to be modern, because old ones are cold and impractical. I'd need some help looking after it, though.
4. If I won the lottery, which of course I won't, I'd buy a big penthouse apartment near the river with a great view. A really high-tech place, you know? With one of those intelligent refrigerators that orders food from the supermarket all by itself when you're running out. And a huge TV and music system. But all very stylish and minimalist. Listening, 4.10. Song, Our House.
Listening 4.11.
When Robert answered my email, I got really excited. He didn't say very much about himself. He just told me that he was now a teacher, which surprised me because he always used to say that he would hate to teach. He also told me that he'd been married, but was now divorced. Anyway, I answered his email, and we agreed to meet for lunch at a restaurant I like, a place where I often go on weekends. When I got there, I looked around to see if I could see him, but I couldn't, and I thought, typical, same old Robert, because he always used to be late. So I sat down and ordered a drink. I was just sipping my drink when a man came over to my table and said, "Carol, how are you?" I could hardly believe it. I mean, I know neither of us is young anymore, but I think I look pretty good for my age. People usually say I look 5 years younger than I am. But Robert looked like an old man. His lovely long hair was all gone. In fact, he was bald, with a few strands of hair sort of combed over his head. And he was wearing the most hideous jacket. Well, I know you shouldn't judge by appearances, so I smiled at him and we started talking. And, well, I enjoyed the lunch, and we talked a lot about the past. But I knew as soon as I saw him that we didn't have anything in common anymore. And I was right. Instead of the rebel he used to be, he was now, well, much more conventional than me. In fact, he seemed just like the sort of teachers we used to hate when we were young.
Listening 4.12.
I got to the restaurant late because I couldn't find it, but when I walked in, I saw a whole group of young people at a table. I thought that must be them, though I didn't really recognize anybody. So I went up, and they all said hello. They all recognized me, which was great, though it felt a little strange. I must admit, I was feeling really nervous. Anyway, I sat down and we started talking. They told me lots of things that I used to do when I was at school, like play on the school basketball team. They said I used to be really good. And they told me about all sorts of other things, places we used to go to, things like that. Some of my friends had even brought photos, and we looked at them. I'd completely forgotten that I used to wear these really awful big glasses, and I sort of relaxed, and I felt that I was getting to know them again, and getting to know more about myself and my past. Anyway, since we met that evening, we've all been emailing each other, and I've started going out with Anna, one of the girls who was at the restaurant that night. She says she used to like me a lot at school, but that I didn't used to take any notice of her then. I can't remember any of that, but I know I like her a lot now.
Listening 4.13. 1. I used to live in New York. 2.
I used my credit card to pay.
3. Excuse me, can you help me? 4. We won't win. We'll lose. 5.
They advertise on TV.
6. They promised to keep in touch. 7.
Could you close the window?
Listening 4.14. 1. I don't agree at all. I think it's much easier. Today you can text, you can email, you can chat online and things like that. I'm still in touch with some friends I met on vacation last year, even though they live miles away. 2.
Actually, I think it's probably true. Because I know a lot of men who are still friends with people they went to elementary school with, but I don't know many women who are. For example, my brother has a friend named Tim who he's known since they were 3 years old. But I think the reason is that men's friendships are less intense, sort of less intimate than women's friendships. As men only ever talk about sports or superficial things, it doesn't matter if they've completely changed and don't have much in common anymore. They can still talk about baseball.
3. You definitely shouldn't. I mean, that's the quickest way to lose a friendship. If you don't like a friend's boyfriend or girlfriend, you should just keep quiet. You have to wait until they break up. And of course, then you can say how awful you thought the person was, and your friend will agree and think you're being supportive. But if you say anything bad while they're still madly in love, it's a disaster. I know because it happened to me once with a friend of mine. I said something negative about his girlfriend, and now we're not friends anymore. Listening, 4.15.
I got a message this morning. It's from Jacques.
Ali, it's Jacques. I'm in Rome. My return flight's been cancelled. There's a small problem. Scarlett Scarpino is in Paris for her concert this evening. I was going to look after her today. Could you possibly take care of her? Thank you, and see you later.
You've met Scarlett Scarpino, haven't you, Ben?
The punk princess. Yeah, I met her in London last year.
What's she like?
Let's say she's a bit difficult.
What are we going to do with her?
Why don't you show her around Paris?
I have a better idea. Why don't you show her around Paris?
What, me? I'm new here.
You can't leave me to do this on my own.
Okay. Why don't we take her to Notre Dame? I mean, it's her first time in Paris, isn't it? I don't think churches are really her thing. How about taking her on a boat trip?
Brilliant.
And then we could go up the Eiffel Tower.
That's a good idea. I'm sure she'll love the view.
And she might fall off. Thanks for your help, Ben. Shall we have lunch after that?
Let's go somewhere really nice. Do you have any recommendations, Ben?
What about La Renaissance? It's Jacques' favorite.
That sounds perfect. Ben, do you want to come too?
Sorry, Ali. I'm really busy. But I'm sure you'll have an unforgettable meal. Listening, 4.16.
What are we going to do with her?
Why don't you show her around Paris?
I have a better idea.
Why don't we take her to Notre Dame? How about taking her on a boat trip?
That's a good idea. Let's go somewhere really nice.
What about La Renaissance? Listening, 4.17. So, Scarlett, what would you like?
Nothing?
Aren't you hungry?
Sure, but this food's really horrible.
This is one of the finest restaurants in Paris.
Huh? I can't eat this stuff. I never touch meat.
The seafood looks good.
Hey, fish have feelings too.
What about the mushroom risotto?
Mushrooms? No way! Didn't they tell you guys about my allergies? I'm allergic to mushrooms, strawberries, nuts.
Shall we go someplace else?
Whatever. I'm going to the restroom.
Well, that was a disastrous morning. The boat trip made her feel sick, and she wouldn't go up the Eiffel Tower.
I can't stand height.
It's a pity we didn't just take her shopping.
She's so spoiled.
Oh, come on. She's just a kid, really.
So what are we going to do about lunch? Shall we leave now?
No, hang on. I have an idea. Let me talk to the waiter.
Monsieur?
Do you think you could possibly do me a favor?
Yes, of course, sir. What would you like?
Well, I think this place is great. More wine, Allie?
No, thanks.
Mademoiselle?
What's this?
It's your lunch, Scarlett.
But I didn't order anything.
Voila.
Hey, pizza margarita. Cool.
Listening, 4.18.
What would you like?
Aren't you hungry?
The seafood looks good.
I'm allergic to mushrooms, strawberries, nuts.
No, hang on. I have an idea. Do you think you could possibly do me a favor? Listening, 4.19. 1.
Good evening. I'm Mrs. Connors. John Connors' mother.
Oh, hello. Nice to meet you. Please, sit down.
So, what's the problem with John? He's pretty lazy, isn't he?
Yes, but that isn't what I wanted to talk to you about.
Did he fail his math exam again?
Yes.
What did he get?
He got 90%.
But that's good, isn't it?
It would be excellent, except that he copied all the answers from the girl sitting in front of him. That's what we need to talk about.
That John. Just wait till I get home.
2. Do you see that woman over there? She used to go to my school.
Which one? The tall one with long dark hair?
No, the one next to her with short blonde hair. What was her name? Janet. That's right. She's changed a lot. She's really thin now. She used to be kind of overweight. But it's definitely her. 3.
So what have you decided about these two houses?
Well, we both loved the house with the big yard around it. That would be ideal.
But...
The kitchen's tiny.
In the townhouse?
Could we see that one again?
Certainly. How about tomorrow morning?
4.
And our next caller is...
Dennis.
Go ahead, Dennis. We're listening.
Thank you. I used to go to a high school in a suburb of New York, and I'm trying to find an old friend of mine named Eddie. We lost touch with each other after we left school.
And when was that, Dennis?
Let me think. I started there when I was 11, so that's 1981. And I graduated 7 years later.
So if you're listening, Eddie, your old friend Dennis wants to get in touch with you. If you hear this message, you can call the show or send us an email. The phone number is
5.
Hi, this is Sophie.
Oh, hi, Sophie. Haven't heard from you in a long time.
Sorry, I've just been so busy.
Me too. We never have time to see each other these days.
That's why I'm calling. What about lunch next week?
Great. What day?
Monday?
Can't. I have a business lunch. Tuesday?
I have my yoga class at 1. Best day for me would be Thursday.
Let me see. I have a meeting at 12:30, but I should be finished by 2 at the latest. How about a late lunch?
Fine. I'll come to you and meet you in the coffee shop downstairs.
Perfect. I'll see you then.
Bye.
Listening, 4.20.
Hello, is this Jake?
Yes, it is.
Oh, I'm calling about the apartment share.
Oh, yes. Well, it's a 3-bedroom apartment. Kitchen, living room, bathroom, and it's on the first floor, so there's a small yard.
Where is it exactly?
It's on Elm Street, number 18. Do you know this area?
Yeah, I know where that is. How much is the rent?
It's $700 a month plus gas and electricity.
Okay, so how many other people will be living in the apartment?
Me and one other guy. We're both students at the university. Are you a student?
Yes, I'm in my second year, engineering. If I'm interested, when could I move in?
Well, the guy who's leaving will stay till the end of this month, so the room's free from the beginning of July.
Fine. I've got a car. What's the parking situation like?
That's a
park on Elm Street. It costs about $60 a year.
Okay. Well, thanks for all that. I'll think about it, and I'll call you back. Is this a good time to call?
Yeah, between 6 and 8, there's usually someone here.
Okay, bye then.
Listening 5.1.
Up. Up. Enough. Tough. Saw. Awe. Bought. Brought. Caught. Daughter. Thought. Phone. Oh. Although. Cat. Ah. Laugh. Boot. Ooh. Through.
Listening 5.2. 1. I bought some steak, but it was very tough. 2.
Although it was dark, we walked through the tunnel.
3.
I thought I'd brought enough money with me.
4.
I laughed when my daughter caught the ball.
Listening 5.3. Tip number 1. Eat breakfast sitting down. Most people stay in bed until the last minute and then have a cup of coffee and a piece of toast standing up. This is really bad for you because it means that you start the day in a hurry. Your body and mind are already moving too fast. So do yourself a favor. Get up 10 minutes earlier every day and have breakfast nice and slowly. Tip number 2. Forget the gym and do yoga instead. Many people go to the gym after work to exercise because they think that this relaxes them, but it doesn't, believe me. I really think that a gym is a very stressful place. Exercising hard, for example, doing aerobics, makes your heart beat more quickly, so it doesn't relax your body at all. In fact, it does the opposite. So forget the gym and try doing yoga. Yoga will not only help you get fit, but it will also slow your body down and help you think more clearly. Tip number 3. Go for a long walk. Walking is the most traditional form of exercise, but many people have just forgotten how to do it. These days we all just get into our cars. The great thing about walking is that you can't walk very fast, so walking actually slows you down. And when we walk, we look around us at the birds, the trees, the stores, other people. It reminds us of the world we live in, and it helps us stop and think and relax. Tip number 4. Spend 10 minutes each day in silence. Meditation isn't new. People have been doing it for thousands of years. And now it is becoming really popular again. In the United States, you can find meditation rooms in companies, schools, airports, and even hospitals. Meditation is a fantastic way to teach your mind to slow down and to think more clearly. And spending time in silence every day will also benefit your general health. And finally, tip number 5. Take a bath, not a shower. Taking a shower is very quick and convenient, but it is another part of our fast-living culture. When you come home from work, instead of taking a shower, take a bath and spend half an hour there. A bath is one of the most relaxing things you can do. It will really help to slow you down at the end of a hard day. Listening 5.4.
organization, relaxation, discussion, reaction, proposal, survival, craziness, happiness, possibility, similarity.
Listening, 5.5. 1.
Let's go for a walk in the park.
2.
He's a doctor at the local hospital.
3.
Is there a bookstore in the shopping mall?
4. I'd like a ticket for the game on Thursday, please. 5.
They have a big house in the country.
6.
We can have a break at the end of this exercise.
Listening, 5.6. The store. The address. The owner. The sun. The engineer. The world. Listening, 5.7. 1.
That man over there is very wealthy.
2.
June is the 6th month of the year.
3. There are 3 things you have to remember. 4.
I threw it away the other day.
5.
We have math in the 3rd year.
6.
The athletes run through that gate.
Listening, 5.8. 1. The body polish.
So, what did you think?
It was just horrible. Horrible. Fruits for eating, not putting on your body. It was hot and sticky and extremely uncomfortable. And I felt so stupid. I'd never do that again. I give it 0 out of 10.
Sticky? It was fruit, for goodness sake. I thought it was wonderful. It smelled so good and it was incredibly relaxing. I mean, how could anybody not like it? And the head massage was fantastic. That was one of my favorite spa treatments ever. 10 out of 10. Okay, so now, the facial.
How long is this one?
1 hour, 40 minutes.
Oh, you're joking. That's too long.
Too long? It'll be heaven. See you later.
Listening, 5.9. 2. The facial.
Oh, that was so boring. Why not forever?
I loved it.
Well, I must admit, my face feels different, much smoother. But I'm not sure I really want a smooth face. And it was nearly 2 hours, and she used about 12 different creams and things. It normally only takes me a minute to wash my face, and I just use soap and water. The therapist said I ought to buy 5 different products.
Well, I enjoyed every second. My skin feels great, really healthy. I give it a 9 out of 10.
I give it 4.
Your problem was that you were hungry, so you couldn't relax. We could have a glass of fruit juice before the last treatment.
Fruit juice? Oh. Okay then, if you really want one.
Listening, 5.10. 3. The foot treatment.
Wow!
Don't tell me. You liked it.
It was wonderful!
I must say, your feet look, well, better. Clean anyway.
much, to be honest, but now they look and feel great. That was definitely worth the time and money. 9 out of 10. What do you think?
Yes, it was great. A real luxury. And I love the color they painted my nails. I agree. 9 out of 10. You see, I knew.
Listening, 5.11. 1. It was just horrible. Horrible. Fruits for eating, not putting on your body. It was hot and sticky and extremely uncomfortable. 2.
And the head massage was fantastic. That was one of my favorite spa treatments ever.
3. I must admit, my face feels different, much smoother. But I'm not sure I really want a smooth face. 4. It normally only takes me a minute to wash my face, and I just use soap and water. 5. What do you think?
Yes, it was great. A real luxury. And I love the color they painted my nails.
Listening, 5.12. Song, Skater Boy.
He was a boy, she was a girl. Cannot make it any more temporary.
Listening, 5.14. Week 1.
When I got to the studio on the first day, I was really nervous. I met my teachers, Adam and Sally. They were very nice to me, but I could see that they thought it was going to be impossible to teach me to be a reporter in just a month.
The problem with Jessica at the beginning was that she was too shy and too nice. And political reporters need to be hard, almost aggressive sometimes. And I've never met anyone less aggressive than Jessica. And also, she knew nothing about politics. She knew who the president was, but not much else.
I spent the first week watching lots of political interviews on TV, and Adam and Sally taught me how to speak more clearly and more confidently. In the evenings, they made me read the political sections of all the newspapers. It was very boring. At the end of the week, I was exhausted.
Listening, 5.15. Week 2.
Adam and Sally said I had to change my image for TV. So I had my hair cut and colored, and I got new, more stylish clothes. I must say, I liked my new look. I spent the week learning how to interview someone in front of a camera.
Then came Jessica's first big challenge. The president was arriving home after a visit to Asia. They'd arranged an informal news conference at the airport, and she had to wait with the other reporters and try to ask him a question.
It was a disaster. I was so nervous. I was shaking. There were a lot of other reporters pushing and shouting. They didn't let me get near the president. I tried to ask my question, but he didn't hear me. I felt really stupid.
Listening, 5.16. Week 3. Jessica was finally making some progress. She was more relaxed. This week she had to interview a politician from the Republican Party in the studio.
In the beginning, it was fine, but then I made a stupid mistake. So, could you tell us what the Democratic Party is going to do about... Oh, sorry, I mean the Republican Party. What they're going to do about... I said the Democratic Party instead of the Republican Party. And after that, I was really nervous again.
We all make mistakes sometimes. Jessica just has to learn to keep going and not to lose her confidence. Listening, 5.17. Week 4.
I spent the last week preparing for the test. It was going to be a live interview with the Secretary of Education. There would be 3 professional reporters and me, all asking him questions. I'd done lots of research, so although I was nervous, I felt well prepared. Secretary, many people think that the real reason there aren't enough teachers is that their salaries are so low. Are you proposing an increase in teachers' salaries?
Well, let's not forget that salaries are much higher today than they were under the previous government.
Yes, but you haven't answered my question. Are you going to increase them?
Well, we're planning to spend a lot more money on education in the next 2 years.
Is that a yes or a no?
There are no immediate plans to increase teachers' salaries.
So it's a no then. Thank you, Secretary. When it was all over came the worst part. I had to wait while the judges decided which of us they thought wasn't a professional reporter.
The judges gave their verdict, and incredibly, none of the 3 realized that Jessica wasn't a professional. She did very well. Who knows? Maybe one day soon you'll be seeing her on TV. And this time she'll be a real reporter, not pretending.
It was a great experience, and I was did. But actually, I wouldn't like to change jobs. I'm much happier working in the library.
Listening, 5.18.
That was a great concert last night, Scarlett.
Thanks.
As we know, Scarlett's got a new CD coming out soon. So let's have a look at the best way we can promote it in France.
Okay. Well, I think Scarlett should visit the major music stores. In my opinion, that's the best way to meet her fans.
I'm not so sure. What do you think, Jacques?
Actually, I don't agree with Mark. Scarlett isn't commercial in that way.
Scarlett? Scarlett?
I agree with Jacques. I don't have a commercial image. It isn't my style.
Okay, but Scarlett needs more publicity. What about a series of TV and radio interviews? Don't you agree?
Yes, but that's what everybody does. What we want is something different.
Personally, I think Scarlett should tour clubs and summer festivals. She can DJ, play her favorite music, play the new CD, and meet her fans, too.
Yes, absolutely. That's a much better idea. Mark?
Okay, why not?
Scarlett?
I think that's a great idea. Thank you, Jacques.
Listening, 5.19. I think Scarlett should visit the major music stores. In my opinion, that's the best way to meet her fans.
I'm not so sure. What do you think, Jacques?
Actually, I don't agree with Mark.
I agree with Jacques.
Don't you agree?
Personally, I think Scarlett should tour clubs and summer festivals.
Yes, absolutely.
I think that's a great idea.
Listening, 5.20.
It's great to be on our own again.
Yeah.
Is this the first time you've been to the Louvre?
Uh-huh.
What's the matter? Is this about the meeting? Because I agreed with Jacques, not with you.
Yeah, well, we knew it wouldn't be easy. Working together, I mean.
It's difficult for me as well. But if I don't agree with you...
I know, you're the boss.
And I have to do my job. I really thought that Jacques' idea was better. And so did Scarlett.
It's not a big deal, Emily. I'm fine, really. So who exactly was the Mona Lisa?
I'm not sure. I think she was the wife of a banker.
Is that why she's smiling? Because her husband has a good salary.
I also read somewhere that she was a self-portrait of Leonardo.
A self-portrait? You're kidding. Now, I don't know much about art, but Leonardo da Vinci was a man, right?
Well, it's just a theory. Why do you think she's smiling?
Well, in my opinion, she's the managing director of a music company.
What?
She lives in Paris, she's in love with her marketing director, and she has a lot of fun telling him what to do.
That's really unfair.
Hey, we're not in the office now. You can't tell me I'm wrong. Let's get a coffee.
Good idea.
Don't turn around.
What is it?
I've just seen Ben from the office.
Where?
I said don't look. I don't think he's seen us. Let's get out of here. Come on. Listening, 5.21.
What's the matter?
It's not a big deal. You're kidding. Now, I don't know much about art.
That's really unfair.
Don't turn round. Let's get out of here. Listening. 5.22. 1.
Excuse me, is there a bookstore near here?
Sorry, I don't think so. What are you looking for?
I'm looking for a guidebook. Is there anywhere around here where I might be able to get one?
Actually, there aren't very many bookstores in this town at all. I think there's one downtown, but that's all. But you might be able to get a guidebook at a newsstand. There's one on the corner on the right, and another one a little farther along on this street.
Oh, good. Thanks for your help.
2.
Where should we have lunch?
What do you think, Albert? You know the restaurants here.
Well, you could go to Garibaldi's. The food's wonderful. Home cooking. You need time, though. They're a little slow.
We're sort of in a hurry because we're meeting Anna at 2:30.
Well, there's Trattoria Marco. They do good pasta. And Roberto's. Their fish is very good.
I had pasta last night. Me too. Let's go to the fish place then. Where is it exactly?
3.
Mostly sunny skies today with brisk easterly winds. Expect a high near 52 degrees.
There's nothing on TV tonight. Why don't you go out and rent a DVD?
Why don't you go?
Okay, but if I go, I choose the movie.
No way. I don't want to see another horror movie for the rest of my life.
Well, you go then.
We could both go and then get takeout for dinner.
Good idea. 4.
Come in. Sit down.
Thank you.
It's, James Baker, isn't it?
That's right.
Tell me a little about the last hotel where you worked. You were front desk manager, is that right?
Yes, I was a front desk clerk for 2 years, and then I got promoted to front desk manager.
But you do realize that this hotel's much bigger than where you were before, and the vacant position here is for a front desk clerk.
Yes, I know.
Why did you decide to get a job straight out of school? I mean, why did you decide not to go on with your education?
To be honest, I wanted to earn some money. But I'd like to get an associate's degree in hospitality, maybe studying part-time. 5.
Have you applied for college next year?
Yes, I've been accepted at the University of California. I'm going to major in biology.
That's great. Are you going to be pre-med?
Well, actually, I've changed my mind about that. I don't really want to work as a doctor, but I'd like to do medical research.
Listening. 5.23. So, what do you think?
I think I like the SUV the best. It's so comfortable, and I love the color. It's a really nice shade of blue.
Don't think about the color. That's a ridiculous reason for buying a car. The question is a sedan big enough?
There's not much space for luggage. The trunk's much smaller than the one in the SUV.
Yes, but think about it. We only go on vacation once a year. The rest of the time, we only use the trunk for shopping. The sedan would be much easier to park. That's the advantage of a smaller car. You know, parking's not your strong point.
I can park perfectly. Thank you very much.
Come on. What about last week when you hit the mirror?
That wasn't parking. It was when I was driving down Main Street. Anyway, large cars are safer than small cars on the road. Everybody says so.
The SUV's much more expensive, you know. If we bought it, we'd have to get a bank loan.
How much more expensive is it?
About 20% more. We wouldn't be able to go to California this summer.
What about that one over there? It's cheaper than the sedan or the SUV. And what a great color. I've always wanted a yellow car.
Look, we've been here more than an hour, and I thought we agreed we were going to buy either the sedan or the SUV.
Yes, but now I'm not sure.
American English File 3 by Clive Oxenden and Christina Latham Koenig. Published and copyright Oxford University Press, 2008, CD2. Listening, 6.1.
Do you need any help?
My name's Olga. I'm a student. What do you do?
I work in advertising. Olga, I'm falling in love with you. Will you marry me?
Yes, I will.
Do you know how many calories there are in a bar of chocolate?
Are you saying I'm fat? I don't think you're really my type.
I'll see you around. Bye.
Listening, 6.2. 1.
Girl. Bargain. Travel agent. Argument. Drugstore.
2.
Jazz. Vegetables. Manager. Change. Gift shop.
3.
Keys. Discount. Bakery. Quit. Receipt.
4.
Shower. Shh. Shoe store. Stationery store. Cereal. Cash.
5.
Chess. Lunch. Schedule. Cheese. Choose.
Listening, 6.3. 1.
You can't choose your own schedule.
2.
I had an argument with the manager of the gift shop.
3.
The bakery gave us a discount.
4.
Could you give me the receipt for the shoes, please?
5.
My new green jacket was a bargain.
Listening, 6.4. 1.
I was in a taxi in Greece, in Athens, and I was going downtown to do some shopping, and the taxi driver started talking to me. He asked me where I was from. When I said I was American, he started getting really aggressive. He said that he didn't like Americans and that all Americans were loud and pushy. He went on and on. He just wouldn't stop. I got really annoyed. I mean, I thought, why do I have to listen to all of this? So I asked him to stop the taxi and let me get out. Luckily, he stopped and I got out. And of course, I didn't pay him anything.
2.
This happened to me recently when I was traveling around on business. I was really tired because I'd been working and traveling all day. Anyway, when I got to the hotel in Philadelphia, it was the evening. I checked in and the front desk clerk gave me the key to my room. So I went up to my room and opened the door, but it was a complete mess. The bed wasn't made, there were dirty towels on the floor, and the bathroom was filthy. I went downstairs and told the clerk, and he said that I would have to wait for half an hour while they prepared the room. But I was exhausted and needed to rest, so I told him to give me another room right away. Luckily, he did.
3.
This happened to me last week. I went to a restaurant in San Francisco with my family to celebrate my dad's birthday. Anyway, my dad ordered soup, and when the soup arrived, he saw that it had a long black hair in it. So he asked the waitress to take it back and bring him another bowl. She brought him another bowl of soup, and it was fine, and we finished our meal. But when my dad asked for the check, he saw that they had charged us for the soup. He didn't think that was right. He thought the soup should be free because he had found a hair in it. So he asked the waitress to take it off the check. She went away and spoke to the manager, and he came out and apologized, and he took the soup off the check.
Listening, 6.5. 1.
How is this word pronounced?
2. My car's been stolen. 3.
When was this house built?
4.
Our television's being repaired.
5.
I've been offered the job.
6.
When will the new airport be finished?
Listening, 6.6.
So, how did you get involved in the film, Dagmara?
Well, as you probably know, a lot of the film, Schindler's List, was shot in Kraków, in Poland, which is where I live. And before the actual shooting of the film started, the film company had an office in Kraków, and I got a job there translating documents and parts of the script, things like that. I was a university student at the time.
But how did you get the job as Spielberg's interpreter in the film?
It's a funny story. I didn't think I would ever get to meet Spielberg or any of the actors. But then, just before the shooting started, there was a big party in one of the hotels in Kraków, and I was invited. At first, I wasn't going to go. I was tired after working all day, and I didn't think I had anything suitable to wear. But in the end, I borrowed a jacket from a friend, and I went. But when I arrived at the party, the producer, who was Polish, came up to me and said, "Dagmara, you're going to interpret for Steven Spielberg. You have to translate his opening speech because the girl who was going to do it couldn't come."
How did you feel about that?
I couldn't believe it. I was just a student. I had no experience of interpreting. And now, I was going to have to speak in front of hundreds of people. But when I started speaking, I was so nervous that I confused the dates of the Second World War. But luckily, I managed to get to the end without making any more mistakes. And afterwards, during the party, Spielberg came up to speak to me to say thank you. He was really nice to me and said he was impressed by the way I had interpreted. And then he said, "I'd like you to be my interpreter for the whole film." I couldn't believe it. I had to pinch myself to believe that this was happening to me. Listening, 6.7.
So, what exactly did you have to do?
I had to go to the film set every day. A car came every day to pick me up from my house. I felt really important. And then what I had to do was to translate Spielberg's instructions to the Polish actors as well as the extras. I had to make them understand what he wanted. It was really exciting. Sometimes I felt as if I was a director myself.
Was it a difficult job?
Sometimes it was really difficult. The worst thing was when we kept having to shoot a scene again and again because Spielberg thought it wasn't exactly right. Some scenes were repeated as many as 16 times. And then sometimes I would think that maybe it was my fault that I hadn't translated properly what he wanted, so I would get really nervous. I remember one scene where we just couldn't get it right and Spielberg started shouting at me because he was stressed. But in the end, we got it right and then he apologized and I cried a little because I was also very stressed. And after that, it was all right again.
So was Spielberg difficult to work with?
Not at all. I mean, he was very demanding. I had to do my best every day, but he was really nice to me. I felt he treated me like a daughter. For instance, he was always making sure that I wasn't cold. It was freezing on the set most of the time. And he would make sure I had a warm coat and gloves and things. It was hard work, but it was fascinating. An amazing experience.
What did you think of the finished film?
I believe that Schindler's List is truly a great movie. A masterpiece. I think the actors were brilliant, especially Liam Neeson and Ben Kingsley, and I love the way it was shot in black and white, with color in just one scene. But as you can imagine, I can't be very objective about it. I mean, I lived through nearly every scene. And when I watch it, and I've seen it a lot of times, I always remember exactly where I was at that moment. I can't help thinking, oh, there I am, hiding under the bed or standing behind that door.
Listening, 6.8.
Che Guevara was born in the city of Rosario, Argentina, on June 14, 1928. His first name was really Ernesto. He was the oldest of 5 children in his family. At the university, he studied medicine and had plans to be a doctor. He spent many vacations traveling around Latin America by motorcycle. The poverty he saw convinced him that revolution was the answer to Latin America's problems. In 1956, he met Fidel Castro in Mexico and joined him in the Cuban Revolution. In 1966, Guevara went to Bolivia to lead a revolution in that country. On October 8, 1967, he was captured by the Bolivian army and shot.
Listening, 6.9.
It's 12 o'clock noon, and so it's time for today's contest. Today the topic is heroes and icons. As usual, the rules are very simple. I'm going to give you 8 clues, and you have to identify the people. If you know all the answers, email them to me right away. The first person who sends me the correct answers wins a prize. Today's prize is 2 plane tickets to the Big Apple, New York City. Okay, so let's get started with those clues. I'll say each one twice only. And remember, I always give you the first letter or letters of the word I'm looking for. Today, they are all people's names. Let's start with an easy one. 2 letters, B and G. It's a man who's probably the richest man in the world, the founder of Microsoft. That's BG, the man who started Microsoft. Number 2, 2 letters again, N and M. He's a man whose courage and humanity made him an icon for millions of people all over the world. He spent many years in prison in South Africa because of his fight against apartheid, but he eventually became president of that country. Number 3 begins with M, just one word. It's the name of a woman who's had a lot of different jobs. She's been an actress, she's even written children's books, but she's most famous as a singer. One word beginning with M. And number 4, this time it's a man, and the letters are G and A, though many people just know him by his last name.
He's an Italian designer whose clothes are considered among the most elegant in the world, and whose name is also on perfume bottles everywhere. G and A for an Italian fashion designer. On to number 5. 2 letters, J and O. It's the name of a famous American woman whose first husband was President of the United States and whose second husband was a Greek millionaire. Although she died in 1994, she is still admired for her style all over the world. 2 letters, J and O. And number 6, it's a woman again, and the letters are M and N. She's the woman who changed the shape of women's tennis and is possibly the greatest female player of all time. She was born in Prague, but later became a U.S. citizen. M and N for the greatest ever woman tennis player. Number 7 is an American actor. He was born in Kentucky in 1961, and he is often called the most attractive male actor in Hollywood today. He first became famous in a TV hospital drama in which he played the part of a doctor. His first name begins with G and his last name with C. So that's a Hollywood actor, G and C. Finally, number 8. 2 letters, M and C. She was born in Greece and died in Paris. And she is the woman whose voice is familiar to lovers of opera all over the world. Nicknamed La Divina, her life was tragic, but her voice will never be forgotten. MC, La Divina. So if you think you have the 8 correct answers, email them to me now at this address, guessthenames@hitmail.com. That's guessthenames@hitmail.com. And the first person with the correct answers will win those 2 tickets to New York. Time for some music.
Listening, 6.10.
Composer. Designer. Leader. Painter. Photographer. Player. Presenter. Actor. Conductor. Director. Inventor. Sculptor. Musician. Politician. Cyclist. Guitarist. Physicist. Scientist. Violinist.
Listening, 6.11. Song, Holding Out for a Hero. Listening, 6.12.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello.
Did you have a nice weekend?
Oh, yeah. You'll never guess who I saw on Saturday. Ali and Mark in the Louvre. Together. Really? You're joking. It was definitely them. And they looked really close. I think they were holding hands. No.
you serious?
No, I'm not surprised. I think they've been seeing each other ever since Mark arrived. Or maybe even before.
That's incredible. What makes you say that?
When I went to look at Mark's new apartment, I'm sure Ali called him on his mobile. And I've seen her looking at him in a certain way.
Hey, quiet everyone. It's Mark.
Hi. Good morning.
Listening. 6.13.
You'll never guess who I saw on Saturday.
Really?
You're joking? No, I don't believe it. It's true, I'm telling you. Are you serious? That's incredible.
Listening. 6.14. Dear all, please find attached a copy of the latest sales report from the USA. Mark. So, did you guys have a good weekend?
Yes, fine. Not bad. Very quiet.
What about you, Mark?
Oh, I spent most of the time at home, just being domestic, you know. The apartment's looking pretty nice now. You must come around for a meal one evening.
That would be very nice.
So didn't you go out at all?
Oh, sure. I went to the Louvre on Saturday. I felt like getting a bit of culture.
On your own?
Yeah. I kind of prefer going to museums and galleries on my own. You can look at everything at your own pace.
That's funny. I went to the Louvre on Saturday too.
Really? I didn't see you.
Well, it's a big place. I didn't see you either.
I just had an email from Ali.
So have I.
Me too.
Dear Mark, thank you for the information. And thank you, darling, for a wonderful weekend, Ali.
Listening. 6.15.
That would be very nice. So didn't you go out at all?
I felt like getting a bit of culture.
That's funny. I went to the Louvre on Saturday too. I didn't see you either.
Listening. 6.16. 1.
Did you go to that new restaurant last night? Yeah, but I wouldn't recommend it. Why not? Well, our soup was cold, and then I asked for my steak well done, but it was burnt. So I asked the waiter to take it back, and then I had to wait 20 minutes for another one. By that time, my husband's meal was cold.
2.
What did you think of it then?
I was a little disappointed, to be honest.
Yeah? I loved it. What didn't you like?
Well, I thought Scarlett Johansson was good, and the one who played her husband.
Orlando Bloom.
Yeah, he was good too. But the story was just ridiculous. I mean, the part when he went to see his ex-wife, a man would never do that.
Oh, I don't agree. I thought it was completely believable. I loved the soundtrack too.
Yeah, that was all right.
3.
Oh, I like your sweater. Is it new?
Yeah, I bought it on sale.
How much?
What do you think?
80? 100?
No, it was originally $90, but then it had a 25% discount.
$70?
That's $67. It was a real bargain.
4.
You were an extra in a movie once, weren't you?
Yeah, it was when I was living in Santo Domingo, and they were making The Godfather 2 there. You know, with Al Pacino.
Oh, yeah, I remember.
Anyway, I saw an advertisement in the paper saying that they were looking for extras, so I went. And I was put in a scene in a big conference room. The one where the Godfather gives Batista a gold telephone.
What did you have to do?
Well, I didn't have to say anything, but I was sitting right next to Al Pacino. I had to pass him the gold telephone. When I saw the movie in the theater, I waited and waited for my scene. And suddenly, there I was, on the screen, right next to Al Pacino.
Wow, what a thrill!
Yeah, it was pretty exciting.
So did you ever get another job as an extra?
Nope, that was the end of my movie career.
5. I saw a fascinating program on TV last night.
What was it about?
It was about Brunel. Did you see it?
No. Who's Brunel? Isn't he that boxer?
A boxer? No, that was Frank Bruno.
Oh, yeah.
Brunel was a famous architect, wasn't he?
Well, you're a little closer than Susan. He built lots of famous bridges.
Oh, that's right. He was an engineer, wasn't he?
Yes, not exactly a boxer.
Listening, 6.17.
Oh, sure. Hello? This is Mark Twain's house. He built it and lived here with his family from 1874 to 1891. However, Twain was not from Connecticut, and in fact, Mark Twain was not his real name. I've never heard. He was born in the state of Missouri on November 30th, 1835, and named Samuel Clemens. The sixth of 7 children, he grew up in Hannibal, Missouri, a town on the Mississippi River. Now, when Sam was 11 years old, his father died. Then Sam left school and started to work as a printer for a local newspaper. When Clemens was older, he started writing for newspapers, and later he began writing his wonderful novels. Probably his most famous novels are Tom Sawyer and Huckleberry Finn, yes, which are based on his life as a boy near the Mississippi. Clemens was very happily married to Olivia Langdon, and they had 4 children. Sadly, 3 of his children died young. Only his daughter Clara was alive when Clemens, or Mark Twain, died in 1910 at the age of 75. Now, if you follow me through here, we can see the
Listening, 7.1.
Ian thought Amy had gone out for the evening and sat down to wait for her to come back. Tired after his long journey, he fell asleep. When he woke up, the phone was ringing. Ian answered the phone. It was Amy.
I said, "Where are you?" She said, "Ian, I'm sitting in your flat in Australia." At first I didn't believe her, but then she gave the phone to Eddie, who lives in my flat in Sydney, and he told me it was true. I was so shocked I couldn't speak.
Amy had had the same idea as Ian. She had flown from London to Sydney via Singapore at exactly the same time Ian was flying in the opposite direction. Incredibly, both their planes stopped in Singapore at the same time. Ian and Amy were sitting in the same airport lounge, but they didn't see each other.
I had saved all my money to buy a ticket to Sydney. I wanted it to be a fantastic surprise for Ian. I couldn't wait to see his face when I arrived. You can't imagine how I felt when I arrived at his flat and his friend Eddie told me he had gone to England. I just couldn't believe it. When I spoke to Ian on the phone, he told me that he had flown back to England for a special reason. And then he asked me to marry him. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry, but I said yes.
It was just bad luck. If one of us had stayed at home, we would have met. It's as simple as that.
Listening, 7.2. The cabin crew put out a desperate call to the passengers. If there's a doctor on the plane, could you please press your call button? The cabin crew were hoping to hear this. But they didn't. They heard this. Incredibly, there were 15 doctors on the plane, and all of them were cardiologists. They were from different countries, and they were traveling to Florida for a medical conference. 4 of the doctors rushed to give emergency treatment to Mrs. Fletcher. At one point, they thought she had died, but finally, they managed to save her life. The plane made an emergency landing in North Carolina, and Mrs. Fletcher was taken to a hospital. After being in the hospital for 4 days, she was able to go to her daughter's wedding.
I was very lucky. If those doctors hadn't been on the plane, I would have died. I can't thank them enough.
But now that she's back in England, Mrs. Fletcher has been less lucky with the British hospitals.
I had 15 heart specialists on that plane, but I'll have to wait 3 months until I can see one in this country.
Listening, 7.3. If one of us had stayed home, we would have met.
If those doctors hadn't been on the plane, I would have died.
Listening, 7.4. 1.
If you'd told me earlier, I would have gone too.
2.
If the weather had been better, we would have stayed longer.
3.
If I hadn't stopped for gas, I would have arrived before he left.
4. We would have been late if we hadn't taken a taxi. 5.
She wouldn't have come if she'd known he was here.
6.
It would have been cheaper if we'd gone last month.
Listening, 7.5. Song, ironic. Listening, 7.6.
Good morning, and thank you for coming, Mr. Morton. Or should it be Inspector Morton? You were a detective with Scotland Yard, weren't you?
Yes, that's right. For 25 years. I retired last year.
People today are still fascinated by the identity of Jack the Ripper, more than 100 years after the crimes were committed. It's incredible, isn't it?
Well, it's not really that surprising. People are always interested in unsolved murders. Jack the Ripper has become a sort of cult horror figure.
Who are the main suspects?
Well, there are a lot of them. But probably the best known are Prince Albert, Queen Victoria's grandson, the artist Walter Sickert, and a Liverpool cotton merchant named James Maybrick.
Patricia Cornwall, in her book Jack the Ripper, Case Closed, says that she has identified the murderer. Who does she think he was?
Well, she's convinced that Jack the Ripper was Walter Sickert, the painter.
Listening, 7.7.
What evidence did she discover?
Well, she mainly used DNA analysis. She actually bought a painting by Sickert at great expense, and she cut it up to get the DNA from it.
Oh,
People in the art world were furious.
I can imagine.
And then she compared the DNA from the painting with DNA taken from the letters that Jack the Ripper sent to the police.
Uh-huh.
Patricia Cornwall says that she's 99% certain that Walter Sickert was Jack the Ripper.
But you don't think she's right, do you?
No, I don't. I don't think her scientific evidence is completely reliable. There's a lot of evidence which says that Sickert was in France, not London, when some of the women were killed.
There's been another recent theory, hasn't there? About James Maybrick. Do you think he was the murderer?
Well, somebody found a diary which is supposed to be his, where he admits to being Jack the Ripper. But nobody has been able to prove that the diary is genuine. Personally, I don't think he was the murderer.
And Prince Albert, the Queen's grandson?
Well, this for me is the most ridiculous theory. I can't seriously believe that a member of the royal family could be a serial murderer. In any case, Prince Albert was in Scotland when at least 2 of the murders were committed.
So, who do you think the murderer was?
I can't tell you because I don't know.
So, you don't think we'll ever solve the mystery?
No, I wouldn't say that. I think that someday the mystery will be solved. Some new evidence will appear, and we'll be able to say that the case of Jack the Ripper is finally closed. But at the moment, it's still a mystery, and people like a good mystery.
Listening, 7.8. 1,
You were a detective with Scotland Yard, weren't you?
2,
It's incredible, isn't it?
3,
But you don't think she's right, do you?
4,
There's been another recent theory, hasn't there?
Listening, 7.9.
Your last name's Jones, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
And you're 27, aren't you?
Yes, that's right.
You weren't at home last night at 8 o'clock, were you?
No, I wasn't. I went for a walk.
But you don't have any witnesses, do you?
Yes, I do. My brother was with me.
Your brother wasn't with you, was he?
How do you know?
Because he was at the police station. We arrested him last night.
Listening, 7.10. 1,
Your last name's Jones, isn't it?
2,
And you're 27, aren't you?
3,
You weren't at home last night at 8 o'clock, were you?
4,
But you don't have any witnesses, do you?
5,
Your brother wasn't with you, was he?
Listening, 7.11.
I'd like to ask you some questions about your personal life, Senora. Our personal life? She repeated, as though she had never heard of such a thing. When he didn't answer this, she nodded, signaling him to begin. Could you tell me how long you and your husband were married? 19 years. How many children do you have, Signora? 2. Claudio is 17 and Francesca is 15. Are they in school in Venice, Signora? She looked up at him sharply when he asked this. Why do you want to know that? My own daughter, Chiara, is 14, so perhaps they know each other, he answered, and smiled to show what an innocent question it had been. Claudio is in school in Switzerland, but Francesca is here with us. I mean, she corrected, rubbing a hand across her forehead, with me. Would you say yours was a happy marriage, Signora? Yes, she answered immediately, far faster than Brunetti would have answered the same question, though he would have given the same response. She did not, however, elaborate. Could you tell me if your husband had any particularly close friends or business associates? She looked up at this question, then as quickly down again at her hands. Our closest friends are the Nogares, Mirto and Graziella. He's an architect who lives in Campo Sant'Angelo. They're Francesca's godparents. I don't know about business associates. You'll have to ask Ubaldo. Other friends, Senora? Why do you need to know all this? She said, voice rising sharply. I'd like to learn more about your husband, Senora. Why? The question leaped from her, almost as if beyond her volition. Until I understand what sort of man he was, I can't understand why this has happened. A robbery? She asked, voice just short of sarcasm. It wasn't robbery. Whoever killed him intended to do it.
Listening, 7.12. 1,
How much does it cost?
Could you tell me how much it costs?
2,
Is there a bank near here?
Do you know if there's a bank near here? 3.
What time does the next train leave?
Could you tell me what time the next train leaves? 4.
Is the museum open on Saturdays?
Can you tell me if the museum is open on Saturdays? 5.
Where's the bus station?
Can you tell me where the bus station is? 6.
Does this bus go to the beach?
Do you know if this bus goes to the beach? Listening. 7.13.
Detective novel. Murder mystery. Horror movie. Crime writer. Police station. Police inspector.
Listening. 7.14. 1. We can't go. It's sold out. 2.
I'd like to find out about train times.
3.
I'm looking forward to Saturday morning.
4.
I was talking to my mother, but we were cut off.
5.
In the future, remember to turn off the kitchen lights.
6.
Philip's not old enough to take care of a 5-year-old.
7. We put on our seatbelts before the flight took off. 8.
They don't get along with each other.
Listening. 7.15. 1.
There's a towel on the floor. Pick it up.
2.
I hate this music. Turn it off.
3.
Your jacket's on the chair. Put it away.
4.
You don't need a coat. Take it off.
5.
I can't hear the TV. Turn it up.
6.
Coffee is bad for you. Give it up.
Listening. 7.16. Cindy.
Well, it wouldn't be electric light because I love candles. And I could live without a washing machine for a week. I often do when I'm on vacation. I think I would miss the refrigerator, though. I'd hate not having cold drinks, and it would mean having to go shopping every day for food, or it would go bad. So a refrigerator would be one thing. And then probably my laptop. It has a battery, but I could only use it for 3 hours or so without charging it. So I wouldn't be able to do much work.
Andy.
Well, it depends. I really miss the TV, but I suppose I could live without it for a week if I had to. And, what else? Oh no, my cell phone. I wouldn't be able to charge it. I couldn't live without my cell. I mean, that's how I keep in touch with all my friends. And my MP3 player. I need my music. Yes, definitely those two.
Julia.
I think for me, it would have to be first and foremost the dishwasher. Because with a family and so many dishes to do, I would just be at the sink forever. It would be a nightmare for me to have no dishwasher because I've gotten so used to it. So that would be the first thing. And the second thing, probably again because of having a family, a young family, would be an iron. Because there's so much ironing. If I had to go without that, everyone would look terrible. Nobody would look very neat. So those would be my two things.
Tyler.
Well, I suppose the first thing I'd miss most would be my cell phone, because I couldn't charge it, so I couldn't use it. And I'd get very upset about that. There are some people's numbers that are only stored in the phone. I don't have them written down, and I wouldn't be able to get in touch with those people. So, cell phone. And the other thing I'd miss would be the lights. At this time of year especially, when the days are short, the mornings are dark. Late afternoons dark, too. I'd miss lights. So, cell phone and lights.
Listening, 7.17.
Mark Ryder.
Mark, can you come in?
Sure.
Thanks for the sales report.
I think there's something more important to talk about right now.
What do you mean?
That message you sent me, you hit reply to all. You sent it to everyone in the office.
No, you're joking. Oh, Mark, I'm so sorry. I did it without thinking.
It's all right, Allie. It's an easy mistake to make.
How could I be so stupid? I just wasn't concentrating.
Allie,
I'm really sorry.
don't worry about it. It doesn't matter. But I think we should talk to the others.
Yes, you're right. I'll do it. It was my fault. Listen, everybody, I just want to say that I'm terribly sorry. I haven't been honest with you. Mark and I...
That's okay, Ali. We had already guessed. It wasn't really a surprise.
Listening, 7.18.
I'm so sorry.
Gì hả?
I did it without thinking.
It's all right, Allie.
How could I be so stupid? I just wasn't concentrating. I'm really sorry.
Don't worry about it. It doesn't matter.
It was my fault. I'm terribly sorry.
Listening, 7.19.
I still can't work out how they knew about it. I was always really careful not to treat you differently.
You were really hard on me.
Mark, I wasn't.
Oh, you were just being fair and very British.
So if it wasn't me, it must have been you.
What?
I've got my own office. You're with them all the time. You must have said something. You're hopeless at keeping secrets.
Don't blame me. This wasn't my fault. They probably just guessed.
How?
You know the French. They're experts on love affairs.
Maybe.
Actually, I think it's great that everyone knows. Now we don't have to pretend anymore.
That's true.
Allie, there's something I've been wanting to ask you for a long time. I just haven't said anything. But it's now or never. Allie,
Sorry, Mark. I didn't hear a word you said.
I said, will you marry me? Was that a yes?
Yes!
Can you confirm that in an email for me? Just don't send it to everyone in the office this time.
Listening, 7.20.
So if it wasn't me, it must have been you. You're hopeless at keeping secrets.
Don't blame me. But it's now or never.
I didn't hear a word you said.
wrote to the manager, "Hey, my computer's not working."
The electricity's just gone off. It'll come back on in a minute.
Oh no, I don't know if I saved the article I was writing.
Doesn't it save automatically?
Yes, but only every half hour. Oh, it's back on again. Now we'll see. Yes, thank goodness it's all there. If I hadn't saved it, I would have had to look up all that information again.
You were lucky. So tell me what the manager said.
2.
Why do you always wear that yellow t-shirt when you play?
It's my lucky shirt. I put it on under my uniform shirt.
Do you really believe it brings you luck?
Well, I suppose it's just superstition, really. But the one time I wasn't wearing it, we lost.
Why weren't you wearing it?
Because I'd left it out the night before in my chair, but my wife thought it looked dirty and put it in the washing machine.
3. What are you reading?
The Minotaur by Barbara Vine.
She's a detective writer, isn't she?
Yes, she's fantastic.
You're always reading detective novels. Don't you ever read anything else?
Of course I do. I read lots of classics and science fiction, too. It's just that when I'm on a train or a bus, I need something light. And anything's better than reading the sports papers like you do. Anyway, be quiet now and let me read. I'm just about to find out who the murderer is.
4. Okay, now I'm going to ask you a few questions. And just so that you know, this interview will be recorded. This is Detective Inspector Carlos Moya interviewing Jonathan Carter on Thursday, May the 20th. Okay, let's start with what you were doing last night.
I was at home.
Any witnesses?
My mother, she was there. You can ask her if you like.
So you didn't go out at all?
No, I stayed in and watched TV. Well, I went to the corner store to get some milk, but that was just 5 minutes.
Did you watch anything in particular on TV?
Yeah, the basketball game. Knicks and Nets. Terrible game.
So you weren't anywhere near the cafe? Gout's Cafe?
The cafe? Me? No way.
So you'd be surprised to hear that 3 people saw you there?
They're lying. And I'm not going to answer any more questions without a lawyer.
5.
Could you turn off the TV, please?
But Mom, it hasn't finished yet.
What hasn't finished?
The movie. It's Star Wars, The Return of the Jedi.
But you've seen it before. I know you have.
Yes, but it's so good. And it's nearly finished, I promise. Just 5 more minutes.
I don't care. It's 10 o'clock and it's time to go to bed. It's already half an hour past your normal bedtime.
But yesterday you said we could watch it if we'd finished our homework.
Yes, but I didn't know it was on so late. It's bedtime, and that's that.
Listening, 7.22.
And finally, tonight's TV. A word about what's on television tonight. At 8 p.m. on PBS, you can see Eight-Legged Wonders, a documentary about those fascinating insects. Well, arachnids, I should say. Spiders. It's a must for anyone who's interested in nature and wildlife. However, if you suffer from arachnophobia, you'd be better off watching ABC, as at the same time as Eight-Legged Wonders, you can see the first episode of a new crime series called The Silent Detective, starring Amanda Hobbs. Then, after that on ABC at 9:30, there's this week's edition of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? Note that the time has changed for this quiz show, as it used to be on at 9 o'clock. On PBS a little later at 10 o'clock, the film in the great film series is the wonderful Ingmar Bergman film, Fanny and Alexander. So if you're a fan of foreign films, don't miss it. And finally, a change of program on ABC. Instead of tonight's episode of Hospital Life at 10:30, as a tribute to Sidney Pollack, ABC will be showing his Oscar-winning film, Out of Africa. So if you're waiting to find out what's going to happen to Dr. Hammond and Nurse Marshall, you'll have to wait till next week. And now, stay tuned.
American English File 3 by Clive Oxenden and Christina Latham Koenig. Published and copyright Oxford University Press.